So it says here that in support of their view, they further add that by the contrivance of accepting higher Brahman and lower Brahman. So my question was, why do they have lower and higher?
You mean
God.
the Brahman? Why there is a higher Brahman and lower Brahman? Okay, so this concept of higher Brahman and lower Brahman. First of all, Brahman, you understand the concept. Brahman is the supreme
being,
supreme being, supreme reality, based on our Vedic scriptures. Brahman is defined as infinite conscious being. So now, if something is infinite and something is conscious, blissful and infinite being, then there are two schools of thought about that Brahman. One school of thought says that Brahman cannot assume any names, forms, functions, does not have forms, does not have attributes, does not have any kind of characteristics, qualities, does not have any form. Completely devoid of any form, any name, any function. That is one school of thought. Yes? And the second school of thought, I mean there are multiple schools of thought, but within that, the second school of thought is, yes, Brahman since Brahman is infinite, can assume any form, any name, any function, can assume any attribute, assume any quality as it desires, which is Shuddha-Advaita philosophy, which is our Vallabhacharya's philosophy. Now, the first school of thought that I talked about, which is a proponent of, that Brahman is completely devoid, absolute absence, completely devoid of attributes, completely devoid of quality or function or form or name. The reason for that belief in that system, which is called Shankaracharya's doctrine, not Vallabhacharya's doctrine. The primary reason for that to believe is, they do not consider anything which is dual in nature from the Brahman, which is separate from Brahman, as real.
What do you mean, like, for example, like a planet or like stars or?
No. So all types of creation from Brahman, any type of creation, stars, universe, any type of creation out of that Brahman, anything that is seen as different from Brahman is assumed to be illusionary in nature. It is not real.
So what about
in the first school of thought? I am not talking about Vallabhacharya's principle.
Okay.
The first school of thought, which is Shankaracharya's doctrine. In that doctrine, they say that, then who creates the universe or who creates the world? Does the Brahman create the universe? If the Brahman creates the universe, the question is, why does it create a universe? What is the reason? And if you argue that Brahman creates something because he wants something out of it, then it ceases to exist as God, because God is not something like you and me who is always in need. God is always self-sufficient in nature.
But what if he actually does want something? What if he could want something? The rest of us, he could become a human. He could not be a human. He not become a human. He could want something. He could not want something.
Correct.
Well, another thing, when they were talking about creating the universe, you could give an argument like, by scientific processes the universe was created.
Yeah, but the scientist does not believe that the creation requires godly phenomena. So then, what are you trying to argue? Are you trying to say that God is really a creator of the universe, or are you against that principle of and kind of
No, I'm saying God made the universe, but those people that made that claim, so just look, and then the science and religion come together in some way then?
Yes. Science, religion, art and philosophy, these are all four dimensions of the Supreme Brahman. Though all four aspects are required in the human life. But at the same time, Vedic scriptures say that all these four aspects, all these four dimensions, science, art, philosophy, and religion, all four aspects are part and parcel of that Supreme Brahman. Supreme Brahman, it has become art. Supreme Brahman has become science and the scientific laws and principles. That Supreme Brahman has taken the form of religion, and same Brahman has taken the form of art and philosophy. Make sense? Okay, so coming back to the question that somebody could argue that he could definitely desire to become, to create something.
Or they could argue that science somehow is related, and somehow you could say that, oh, science was in the play, and you could also say that.
But the question is not about that. The question is, does the creation happen outside of the wish of Brahman or within the wish of Brahman?
That could depend on who we don't know what he wants. He could, and he could also not.
But science says that you don't require God for creation of the world. So are you agreeing to what science is saying, or are you making some other point? I'm trying to understand.
So my point is,
the topic right now which is going is, why does God create the universe? Why?
So my point is, let's say I did not believe that God created the universe, and I said, scientifically this and this occurs. So is there any reason is there any way you could convince me to believe that God created the universe?
We can park that question later. Right now you have asked about the question of
the
lower Brahman and the higher Brahman. I am explaining the root cause of the doctrine that believes in lower Brahman and higher Brahman.
And the reason why.
This doctrine is not acceptable by Vallabhacharya, by the way. Just saying. This is the doctrine of non-Vallabhacharya, non-Pushti which is Shankaracharya's principle.
He didn't take any information from the scriptures.
He did, but he misinterpreted the scriptural texts. The root cause of coming up with this type of interpretation by Shankaracharya, where he believes that there is a lower Brahman and there is a higher Brahman, the root cause is they misinterpreted the scriptural texts, and they said that Brahman can never create the universe because it is self-sufficient. Self-sufficient means he does not need something different than him to satisfy himself. He is self-sufficient on his own. He doesn't need to do something else.
Did he believe that everything was God, or did he not believe that?
He did. But the question is, what is everything? Because he does not believe in everything.
Let me get this straight.
Everything is unreal as per Shankaracharya.
So according to him, everything is God.
No, according to him, everything does not exist. There is no question of equating everything with God.
But I just asked you if he believes that for example, like the glasses are a form of God, or like this iris.
He does not believe in that, is what I was trying to say.
So he believes it's completely separate.
Completely separate, illusionary in nature. So any name, form, function that you see around ourselves, including you are also unreal. We are also unreal, according to him. Everything is illusionary.
So isn't he unreal then by that means? Doesn't that mean that his book is also illusionary?
Yes.
But
actually,
you could also say that God is illusionary because everything is illusionary and because everything is God.
No, God does not, as per him, the nature of the Brahman is such that it never can take any names, forms and functions because it is self-sufficient.
Then why is there a name for him?
That's why he's trying to justify by categorizing the Brahman into two classes. One is a lower class Brahman and one is a higher class Brahman. The lower class Brahman means the Brahman which comes, the Brahman that comes into the effect of illusion, which they call it as Maya. And when the Brahman comes into the influence, comes under the influence of illusion, that Brahman takes a form of lower Brahman, and that creates the universe.
Then that means that there's two gods involved, but it says Vedas,
let me finish.
There's one God.
Yes, let me finish. And then the higher Brahman, as per them, does not get under the influence of illusion, and hence the higher Brahman is a actual supreme Brahman from which nothing can come out. He is good for nothing. He cannot create the universe. He cannot sustain the universe.
He is God. He can do anything he wants.
Yes, but I am just translating what he says.
Okay, what his opinion, okay.
His opinion is. I am just translating.
Yes, I've got about that.
Hence, I am saying that that's why you are reading these lines where it says they believe in lower Brahman, which actually is the cause of the universe. And the higher Brahman, which technically as per them is the actual Brahman, it does not create any universe, it does not take any name, it does not take any function, does not do any function, does not have a name, and it does not take any form.
In the first place, if it doesn't even have anything, then it's not God, then at least.
Well,
but you could say God doesn't have a form, he doesn't be there, then you could
So let me contrast with Vallabhacharya's principle now. Vallabhacharya's principle, our principle says, and he interpreted based on his interpretation of texts, Vedic text, he comes to the conclusion that the God can take multiple names, forms and functions while sustaining its nature, essential nature of being self-sufficient at the same time. So God is a contradictory phenomena, wherein multiple contradictory attributes are there in him. He can remain self-sufficient, at the same time he can multiply in multiple names, forms and functions, take multiple names, forms and functions. Wait a second. Takes multiple names, forms and functions due to quote-unquote his will, his desire. So we believe in the principle where the God is not just restrictive to its own non-duality. He can take different names, forms and functions based on his quote-unquote desire or based on his will. Now let me know if you have questions. Do you understand? So we don't believe in a segregation between lower Brahman and higher Brahman.
It's just one.
It is just one Brahman who takes different names, forms and functions who have become us. The same Brahman has become you and me. The same Brahman has become the phone and the bed on which you are on. The same Brahman has become the house which you are in. And the same Brahman has become everything. The reason that the Brahman takes these names, forms and function is very simple. His desire to play. Willful desire.
You're saying this
willful play.
Then couldn't you say this is an illusionary thing?
It is not illusionary. A willful play where he himself is the material cause of all this. How can there be the unreal? But
you're in a play, and if you think about a play, it's not really real.
Think about what?
Like a player, like...
Play. Oh, I see. Okay.
You just said it's like a play. And to me, when I think about that, it's not usually real in terms of...
Yes, but the play consists of characters and actors. Are you saying the actors are also unreal?
No, I'm saying they're real. For whatever they're doing, whatever you see in front of you.
Yeah, but the raw material is still real. The actors are still real.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Although the character that they're playing, a role, might be just for the time being, but it is still real, isn't it? The actors are still real. The raw materially, everything is Brahman. So even you, raw materially, the material from which you are made of, is also Brahman in Vallabhacharya's principle.
Mhm.
You understand?
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we don't believe in segregation in between the lower Brahman and higher Brahman. Same as Shankaracharya says. We do not believe in that. We believe there is only one and only one Brahman.
Mhm.
And that same Brahman has manifested into the creation, and the same Brahman also remains self-sufficient at the same time.
Mhm.
Because the same Brahman can have mutually contradictory attributes in him.
Mhm.
Make sense?
So my next question was, what is the difference between Upanishads, Vedas, and the Bhagavad Gita?
Oh. So
here let me just read. So it says the Supreme is described by different names in the different I can pronounce it. It is known as Brahman in the Upanishads, in the Vedanta Sutras, as Paramatman in the Gita, as Bhagwan in the Bhagavata. Bhagavat.
Yeah.
Okay. So if he has different names in these three different books, I'm assuming the books, scriptures. Okay, what are the difference between all of these three?
Yeah. So I will give you an example, and I think you will appreciate the difference then afterwards. The example is when you are trying to describe something.
I was asking what's the difference between the Upanishads.
That's what I'm
asking.
answering.
Okay.
So with an example, I will explain you. So when you are trying to explain something to somebody, for example, take the approach of a teacher trying to explain some concept to their students. When teacher teaches, a teacher teaches the students in a certain style, certain way. For example, teachers has a tendency to say that, oh, this thing is like this. Very straightforward and in an orderly fashion, in a systematic way, the teacher explains that concept to the students. Same way as you are going to classroom, you take up a topic and teacher conveys the meaning, and you people learn. Yeah. Now that method of conveying that is a bit more assertive in nature, isn't it? For example, a teacher when teaches, a teacher might say, oh, this is how it is, don't question me. Sometimes you might feel that, oh, these teachers are like this? Why can't they explain me complete thing as to why it is such thing is like this? The method of the teachers are like, you might think that they're assertive in.
So strict basically?
Strict and assertive. This is how it is. Yes?
Okay.
Same way the court of law. When a judge delivers the judgment, a judge does not deliver a judgment in a haphazard, in an unclear way. They are very clear on what the judgment is, and they are very assertive in nature when they deliver the judgment. This is going to be this. He is found guilty, and hence he will go into jail or something like that when the judge delivers. Very, very assertive way of conveying the message, right? Just like teachers, just like court, judges do.
Okay.
The same assertive way of conveying the message of what a human life how a human life should be led, how one should lead a moral and a very good life. The same message is being conveyed in a very assertive manner, in a prescriptive manner by Veda. There is a way to convey this. The Vedas convey in a way of assertive. There is an assertiveness in how they convey their message.
Correct.
How to achieve that Parabrahman. How to lead a pious life to achieve that Brahman. You understand? So that is one way of conveying the message. Now at the same time, think about your friend explaining the same concept. A friend. When friend explains you the same concept what teacher just taught you, you will not feel that type of assertiveness in the
No.
tone of a friend. It is
Because-
going to be more friendly tone, more friendly style.
Oh, you're so
Right?
basically trying.
So wait a second. So let me complete. So now when a friend conveys the same message as teacher, you are going to see a different style, different tone, different way of delivering that message. Bhagavad Gita is a scripture which conveys the essence of Ved, but in a friendly way. As if you are talking to a friend, because Lord Krishna was talking to his friend Arjun in Bhagavad Gita. Both were friends, best friends. But there is a difference in the tone, how Krishna taught his friend in a very friendly nature.
Okay, wait, now I have another question.
Wait, but let me finish your first question.
Okay.
And the third is Puran.
I thought Upanishads.
Upanishad is Ved. Upanishads are the part of Ved.
But they're separated though.
Upanishads are part of Ved.
So what's the Bhagavad Gita?
Bhagavad Gita are not part of the Ved. Bhagavad Gita is a different scripture outside of Ved. But Bhagavad Gita is an essence of the Ved.
So where is...
It's a different scripture. There are multiple scriptures in Hindu Sanatan religion.
Oh, that is Veda.
Yeah. And what is the third one? Puran, right?
Yeah, so they're part of the scripture.
What is the third one? You said three, right?
Bhagavad, Ved and Upanishads.
No, it cannot be. It not Bhagavad, it's Bhagavat.
Bhagavad.
Okay, Bhagavat is a Puran. It's a different scripture. It doesn't
it's
come
a
under the
different
Ved.
thing? Oh,
Yes.
I didn't,
So Bhagavat is a different scripture in the category of Puran. Now Puran conveys the message in a totally different tone and in the style. Rather than conveying the message how the teachers or the judges deliver their message, or rather a friend delivering a message or explaining in a friendly way, a Puran takes a different approach. A Puran takes an approach of describing the story. That, oh look, when a person did this, a person had to face this consequences. And when this person did this, then the person had to face XYZ consequences, right? It describes a story. It's a storytelling scripture. You learn from stories, right? So when you learn from others, it will tell you nice stories and bad stories, do's and don'ts. And hence, you will learn what to do and what not to do by going through the stories. So Puran takes a different approach by narrating the story and then teaching the audience. So it takes a different approach. So there are three styles of approach to learn about that Supreme Being. One is an assertive tone, another is a friendly tone, and the third is a storytelling tone. There are three tones which is reflective on this scriptures. Does that make sense? That's why you need three different types of scriptures to convey the same thing.
Wait. Why the same thing though? I thought, okay, maybe...
Again, Supreme Reality is multidimensional in nature. And like a diamond.
But why do you...
There is a spectrum of different lights coming out of that diamond.
But they're all different, unique. You're telling me this is all the same thing, but you're just telling it in a different way. Why do you need three? You just could have just kept one. You could have made one big book and have stories and nice, sweet.
You can believe that as a one book, not a problem.
But they make it from at least Bhagwan seems
No,
to me.
it is the message I'm trying to convey is that it conveys the message in a different style. That's a style difference. The essence is same.
Then you could have...
Because Supreme Reality is not one dimensional. There are different perspectives to understand the Supreme Being. Three is not enough, by the way. There are infinite dimensions, and you need actually, in theory, infinite scriptural text.
Yeah, we're not really made for infinite. So let's take that
Exactly. Humans are not made for infinite.
Okay, so it's just because you need...
There are different perspectives, diverse set of perspectives that you need to understand, because Brahman itself is diverse. Brahman itself consists of mutually contradictory attributes. Brahman itself consists of multiplicities. Hence, hence you require multiple types of perspectives and scriptures to understand the same Brahman.